Made man here. Y'all know how I get down. We talking boxing, man. I want to take a step back from the headlines of boxing for a second. And I want to talk about some real shit. And that is over the weekend, ladies and gentlemen, we possibly have witnessed the very, very last fight of the Magic Man, Paulie Malignaggi. Now, Paulie Malignaggi just fought the dude Sam Eggington, and he lost. He lost pretty badly, actually. And Sam Eggington ain't nothing to really talk about. So it's clearly time for Paulie Malignaggi to hang him up. Most believe that it was actually time possibly a couple years ago. When Paulie moved up to welterweight, it was shown that a fighter who already had little power and brittle hands really had zero power and even worse hands up at the welterweight division. But, however, don't misunderstand me here. Paulie left a very, very good mark in the sport of boxing. He's a two-time world champion. He's a two-division world champion. And most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, he was one of boxing's brightest characters over the last decade. The skill set of Paulie Malignaggi, you would not think that this dude would have been around as long as he has. But Paulie Malignaggi has always managed to hang around the sport of boxing and remain in big fights. Because Paulie has no shortages of big fights throughout his career. So Paulie Malignaggi, though he did not beat the toughest competition he faced in his career, he still, on the other hand, beat some very, very good names. And on top of that, defended world titles. That's more than what possibly 75% of most people that get into the sport of boxing, that's more than what they can possibly say, ladies and gentlemen. Real talk. What really impressed me with Paulie Malignaggi above anything in his entire career was the fact that he won his second world title in basically the closing acts of his career. You remember he won that second world title, I believe, was back in 2012 when he beat Sinchenko, and he took the WBA world title. And what did he do after that? He lost that same world title. I take that back. Well, when he won that WBA world title, Keith One-Time Thurman was his mandatory. He was the number one contender. And Keith One-Time Thurman tried to press the fight with Paulie Malignaggi. Y'all remember that press conference? Don't duck me, son. Don't duck me, son. And Paulie basically told him, look, I do nothing but big fights at this point. I'm a world champion. Who the fuck are you? And Paulie then chose to face Adrian Bronner, in which Adrian Bronner beat Paulie in a very, very, very close fight, at least by the critics. They claim it was a close fight. And it's unfortunate because Broner then went on to lose that WBA title to Maidana. Maidana lost it to Floyd. Floyd never fought Thurman. Maidana never fought Thurman. Floyd ended up fighting Maidana twice. And on top of that, then fought Andre Berto. And then Keith One-Time Thurman got his chance for the WBA title. But the fact still remains that, Paulie had it. And not to mention, after he lost that title to Adrian Bronner, he turned around and he defeated Zab Zuda for a vacant NABF alphabet title, lower level title, but it still was an NABF title. And we know how Paulie is. Whenever Paulie will win any title, whether it been an official major world title or just a lower alphabet title, Paulie will wear that damn belt over his shoulder no matter what. It even got to a point in Paulie's last few fights that he had no belt. But yet and still, he made his own goddamn belt and popped up at press conferences and at interviews with that belt over his shoulder. You always have to appreciate the character of Paulie Malignaggi. This is what makes him such a good commentator, because not only does he know the sport far stylistically and inside the ring, but just the way his delivery and the way he is, the hyperactive of Paulie. You know what I mean? It's just fun as hell to watch. The build-up between him and Adrian Bronner was fucking epic, man. Not to mention the aftermath of that fight was epic. Not my side piece. Don't brag about taking my side piece. Not my side piece. Man, that shit was funny as fuck, man. Funny as fuck. Paulie Malignaggi actually was going to retire like right after the Broner fight, remember? And he was really talking seriously about doing it. But I do recall Paulie in the interview, after he lost to Adrian Broner, he went on a tirade in the ring stating that, Broner won because he's one of Al's guys. He's one of Al's guys. He's one of Al's guys. And what did Paulie turn around and do? He became one of Al's guys. Not to say that was a bad career move by far, because what did Al Heyman do? He did two things. At that point, he guided Paulie Malignaggi back to prominence because he guided him into a fight with Zab Zuda, in which he won that Alphabet title, which then positioned Paulie Malignaggi to be in there with two big-name fighters, two fighters he should not have been in the ring with, in Showtime Sean Porter, in which he fought Sean Porter for the IBF World title. If he would have beat Sean Porter, he could have possibly took the belt. But he lost that fight, and he also turned around and lost to Danny Garcia. So after those two fights, he didn't have really a big name fight, for the next three fights, which was the remainder of his career. But he didn't have a big fight after that. But the fact of the matter was, Al Heyman then guided Paulie back to basically big name prominence, putting Paulie in more big fights, possibly using him as bait, but still putting him in big name fights. You know what I'm saying? Real talk, man. Real talk. And not to mention, in the first division where Paulie won his world title, which was down at super lightweight, he won the IBF world title. And that was great, man. He beat Lovemore Endow. He beat him twice. Indu, I'm sorry. I always mispronounce his name. He beat Lovemore Endow twice. He lost to Miguel Cotto, but when he lost to Miguel Cotto, ladies and gentlemen, he wasn't a professional for that long. That was like his big coming out fight, if you will. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, that was like his first really big name fight. If you want to count the Rocky Martinez fight, be my guest. But Miguel Cotto was his really big coming out party, and he lost. He fought for the WBO title, and he lost. But he turned around 2 fights later, beat Lovemore Endow, and he took that IBF super lightweight title off of Lovemore Endow. And not to mention, he turned around and he fought Lovemore Endow like a fight or so later, and he beat him for the second time in defense of that same title. Before Paulie lost that title, that IBF super lightweight title, he defended that bad boy 3 times. 3 times. Oh, I take that back. No, he defended that bad boy 2 times. I take that back. The Edna Cherry fight was before the IBF title. So he defended that bad boy 2 times before he took on Ricky Hatton and he lost. So, not to mention, he lost to Juan Diaz, sure, but then he turned around the very next fight and he beat Juan Diaz. Paulie has suffered numerous injuries throughout his career. He's fought with hematoma. He's fought with broken eye sockets. He's fought with brittle hands. You know what I'm saying? But he's always showed a lot of heart, because a lot of these fighters could not knock out Paulie. Paulie would stand there with a lot of these fighters and fight his heart out. Fight his heart out. You know what I mean? I remember when Khan knocked him out. But outside of that, I remember Khan knocking him out. I remember he knocked out Sinchenko, which was awesome, because he, like I said before, he did that in the second half of his career. And at that point, we haven't seen a knockout from Paulie for years. You know what I mean? He finished Sinchenko with a TKO. I can't remember. Sean Porter knocked out Paulie. I do remember that. And Danny Garcia knocked out Paulie. But at that point, Paulie was like a shot fighter. A lot of these guys could not finish Paulie. Broner couldn't finish Paulie. You know what I'm saying? Juan Diaz couldn't finish Paulie. Miguel Cotto couldn't finish Paulie. Not to mention, Paulie turned around and fought Miguel Cotto's brother, Jose Miguel Cotto, and he beat Miguel Cotto's brother. So, I mean, the thing I'm saying is that, man, Paulie, he's the epitome of you win some, you lose some. And I know a lot of people are not going to be possibly even listening to this vid, but I mean, I'm sorry, man. We got to cover anything that leaves a mark on boxing. And Paulie, no matter how you may feel about him, all the shit that he talked about Manny Pacquiao, the thing is with that was, like, Paulie, I don't even think, like, they have videos out of Paulie praising Manny Pacquiao way before he was bashing Manny Pacquiao. He didn't start to bash Manny Pacquiao until he became one of Al's guys, until he became like a PBC commentator, spokesman, having Al Heyman as his manager. Then he became anti-Pacquiao. And it's cool. And Paulie, who can deliver it and say it better than Paulie Malignaggi? Now, I wasn't a fan of that shit, but the fact still remains, you know what I mean? Hey, he's one of Al's guys now. What can you expect? What can you expect? I didn't care much for him the way he talked about Manny. I'd love to prefer the statements he made about Manny prior to him becoming one of Al's guys, man. But the fact is, man, this dude was a crazy character. The outfits, the talk, the trash talk, the shit talk, the epic build-ups he's given us to fights, the great commentating that he still provides to this day. I mean, everyone is Paulie is, believe it or not, very in demand on the business side of boxing. PBC wants him. Sky Sports wants him. He calls fights here in the U.S. He calls fights over in the U.K. He's even called fights in other countries. You know what I mean? So Paulie is now becoming possibly the best boxing commentator, perhaps, in the sport of boxing. He's gone from becoming a dynamic fighter to now becoming a very dynamic commentator. And I have nothing but respect for what Paulie Malignaggi has done in the sport of boxing and the mark that he leaves. He may not make it to the Hall of Fame. He may not be known as an all-time great, but the fact still remains, fight fans from this era and possibly fight fans from the previous era will all know and remember exactly who Paulie the Magic Man Malignaggi was. And for that, I say thank you, sir, for your service, your entertainment, and most importantly, thank you for giving us knowledge about the sport of boxing. To the next video, Main Man, Made Man. Don't forget to subscribe. Twitter, Made Man 511. Facebook, Main Man, Made Man Boxing Forum. Google Plus, Main Man, Made Man. I'm sure there's a lot that I'm leaving out in this video about Paulie Malignaggi, and I hope more uploaders do make a video about the retirement of Paulie Malignaggi, because, you know, if we can sit here and talk about every fucking sentence that comes out of Floyd Mayweather's mouth, or if we can sit here and talk about every goddamn syllable that Triple G or whoever else says, or Canelo, the least you can do for being a fucking troll is to pay some fucking respect to the sport and give respect to one of the sport's one of the sport's biggest names, if you will. And that is Paulie Malignaggi. Much respect to you and much good luck to you in your future ventures. To the next video. Peace out.